Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studio in New York City, here is Steve Malzberg.
There have been, as you know, a number of investigations, including the independent one that the State Department commissioned, as well as many in Congress. There are answers, not all of them, not enough, frankly. I'm still looking for answers because it was a confusing and difficult time. But I would hope that every American would understand, number one, why we were there, because we need to be in dangerous places, and number two, that we're doing the best we can to find out what happened, and I hope that fair-minded people will look at that seriously.
All right, we were there in Benghazi because we need to be in dangerous places. And she's still looking for answers. I thought all the answers had been given. I'm a little confused myself, but joining us now is retired General Michael Hayden, of course, the former director of the CIA and the NSA. Hello, sir. Always great to talk to you.
Oh, great to chat with you, Steve, once again. Thank you.
My pleasure. All right, so I do want to get to Iraq real soon, but I couldn't let this go without running it by you. I'm just a little confused. I mean, she didn't want to be a part of anything on the backs of dead Americans, and now there's so many unanswered questions that she's confused about, and the reason we were in Benghazi is because we need to be in dangerous places. I think she just raised more questions than we knew existed.
Well, frankly, Steve, I'm heartened. I mean, this is the right thing for the secretary to be saying. Number one, Benghazi was a dangerous place, and that's a key point on her part. And of course, as you suggest, Steve, it raises questions. If it were so dangerous, why didn't we have better protection? But fair question, but her point's a fair one as well. We need to be in dangerous places. Yeah, that's true. And then finally, I mean, frankly, she's not saying what you and I have been saying for a while, right? We need some answers. There are questions out there to which there are not obvious answers. So, you know, at this point, I'm quite willing to pocket the secretary's position, saying, yep, I agree with her. Let's get on with it now.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I think she opened the door, and that's a good thing. Okay, let me read you something here. This is a statement from Barack Obama, September of 2011. If a JV team puts on Lakers uniforms, that doesn't make them Kobe Bryant. Actually, that was January of 2014. Then he said, core al-Qaeda is on its heels. They've been decimated. That was in August of 2013. Then, so let there be no doubt the tide of war is receding. That was September of 2011. That's all Barack Obama, as quoted today in a Wall Street Journal piece by former Vice President Dick Cheney, who talked about the collapsing Obama doctrine. Could Barack Obama have been more wrong on any of those statements?
I have to tell you, Steve, as you're reading them aloud, I'm thinking of Humphrey Bogart's and Waterline as Rick and Casablanca. I was misinformed.
Right. I mean, he got it wrong, and here we are with Iraq falling apart. And I got to ask you, General, you know, it's been over a week, and he still doesn't know what to do.
Well, and that part I'm a bit more understanding about, Steve. This is really hard. And, you know, you and I are probably going to talk about courses of action here before we're done in a minute or two. But I'm more concerned about, you know, someone asked me, Steve, so what do we do now, Hayden? I go, well, get in the Wayback Machine, go back 3 years, and undo some incredibly unwise decisions that we made then. And I really do think that's really the nub of the issue. Now we're at a point, Steve, where we really don't have good options. This is all going to be very, very hard going forward, and we frankly may have to limit our objectives. In other words, seek to achieve things less than we would have sought to achieve had we made different decisions a few years back.
All right, so what, in your view then, General, if I'm hearing you right, and by the way, the person who called you Hayden, I hope it was your wife or a close relative. But anyway, you've earned more than that. But let me ask you this. So what should our objectives be? How limited should they be? And what are the realistic objectives that you see we could accomplish?
Well, Steve, let me give you a very somber way forward. And I am happy, I would be delighted to be talked out of this. But here's the way I see it right now. I think the state of Iraq as we know it is gone. And it's not going to be reconstituted. It's certainly not going to be reconstituted by Nouri al-Maliki. I mean, he has thrown everything away in favor of Shia sectarianism and has not been the inclusive leader of all Iraqis that at one point, well, we might not have expected, but we certainly hoped for. And I frankly think we've got 3 successor states there now. And as much as we might look for opportunities to keep Iraq together, we need to be prepared for the reality that it's not going to stay together. And so I think we should snuggle up comfortably with the Kurds in Kurdistan, who have always been pro-American and actually have a functioning society and state right now. I think we should give help to the Maliki government sufficient to settle the current conflict so it just doesn't turn into a humanitarian disaster. For example, there's fighting around Baji right now, the oil refinery north of Baghdad. Baghdad needs that for that part of the country to survive. And so we've got to settle the lines of this conflict in a way that Nouri al-Maliki's surviving state, which I'll call Shiistan, has Baji within it. And then we've got Sunnistan, and that's the state under the control of ISIS right now. And frankly, we've got to treat that as if it were a safe haven for terrorists and begin to think about it, Steve, the way we have thought about Waziristan for the last decade plus. That's a tough message. I'm afraid that's where we are.
So you see it as you said, the Iraq we've known is gone, not coming back, and you see Kurdistan, Shiistan, and Sunnistan, correct?
Yeah, certainly as a practical matter, and maybe even someday as a legal matter.
Yeah. The
borders in the Middle East. I mean, I was talking to someone this morning about this, and I actually made the point: the former border between Iraq and Syria, because there is no border now. This Sunnistan takes up western Iraq and eastern Syria.
Yeah,
and by the way, Steve,
that's very frightening.
That reflects reality on the ground more than those artificial borders that were drawn by Europeans 100 years ago.
Yeah, very frightening. I want to move on to the capture yesterday of the alleged mastermind of the Benghazi attack, getting back to Benghazi. Let me ask you about this. Of course, the hypocrisy of Barack Obama on so many levels, increasing the use of drones, and the left remains silent, saying that we could kill Americans on foreign soil if we think they're a threat. Nothing from the left, basically, from their no outrage on their part. And now, of course, he did away with the CIA interrogation unit, as you well know, one of the first things he did, because it's not who we are. Yet we're bringing this guy back, and I have no problem with this if they're doing it right. I do have a problem with bringing him to a civilian court and reading him his Miranda rights, but apparently they put him on a slow boat, and they're interrogating him now. So is this not just, and I think it's a good thing if they're doing it, but is this just not another way around, Barack Obama making believe, well, we have no CIA interrogation unit, but we're interrogating the heck out of this guy, so isn't it really the same thing or not?
Well, I have to admit, Steve, I sometimes share your concern or your joy or at least your observation that what some people say isn't exactly what they do when it comes time to make tough decisions. And Steve, we just conducted a rendition. There is no other way to describe what our special forces and the FBI did. We conducted a rendition out of Libya to a United States naval ship without the permission, without the knowledge of the Libyan government. And you know what? I'm glad we did it, despite the problem caused by the rhetoric 4 or 5 years ago. And now, even though the president closed the CIA black sites, we kind of got this guy in a USA gray site, don't we? And I mean that almost literally, battleship gray. We've got him on this ship, and we're going to interrogate him for intelligence value. And frankly, Steve, we ought to do that for as long as we need. And then I have to admit, I'm indifferent after that. You want to put him in an Article 3 court after we've done the intelligence debriefing? That's fine. But the intel comes first.
Yeah, how does that? I mean, you're not an attorney, and neither am I. But I wonder how that stands up in civilian, criminal court. Well, they took me. They didn't read him. They didn't read him his Miranda rights until they got him back to the States, and they, I guess you could say they blew smoke in his face and made him feel a little chilly on the way on the ship. So I don't know how that reconciles with giving him a civilian trial.
No, you can do it. What you do is you have one set of human beings do everything you just described on the ship, and you do not allow any of those human beings then absolutely in any way inform the judicial process. But the phrase we use for it, Steve, is a clean team. So you get them back to the United States, you fly them into Washington here, you take them to the Washington courthouse, and you bring some FBI officers in who have never met this guy, who have never talked to anybody who's been aboard that ship, who have no knowledge of any of that information, and then you read the guy's Miranda rights, and now it's game on for the judicial process.
I tell you, that's why I love talking to the former head of the CIA and the NSA. I learn so much every time we chat, General, and it's always a pleasure and an honor. Thank you so much for coming on. I look forward to the next time, sir.
Okay, Chief. Thanks very much.
Thank you. General Michael Hayden, ladies and gentlemen. Very interesting. Very, very interesting scenario. And like the General, I'm glad. Yes, this is a rendition. Of course it's a rendition. It's a rendition in sheep's clothing, if you will, or whatever you want to call it. All right, Gimme 5 is next, right here on the Steve Malzberg Show. Don't go away.